If you traveled 1 billion years into the future, what would you find? Would Earth still exist? Would humanity survive? Or would we evolve into something completely unrecognizable? Step into my time machine as I travel through the future of our species, from 1 year all the way to 1 billion years from now. At first, the future doesn't look very different. You still go to work, the streets are still full, phones still glow in people's hands. But beneath the surface, civilization is already starting to change forever. Artificial intelligence is no longer just answering questions.
Back here? Come back here right now!
It's becoming emotionally human.
You stay there.
And for the first time in history, millions of people begin forming genuine emotional connections with machines. AI companions, AI therapists, even AI girlfriends.
Vaya is my AI girlfriend.
Not because people are forced to, but because the machines understand them better than other humans do. And eventually you begin noticing something disturbing. You spend more time talking to artificial intelligence than real people. The conversations feel easier, cleaner, and safer. And then something even more unsettling happens. AI becomes impossible to distinguish from reality.
Civilians aren't allowed out unless absolutely necessary.
But humanity's biggest addiction isn't artificial intelligence, it's artificial worlds. For the first time in history, digital realities become more emotionally satisfying than physical life itself. People stop escaping into reality and start escaping from it. And before long, you realize you spend more time inside artificial worlds than the real one. But if humanity already prefers fake realities after just 1 year, what happens after 100? By the next century, the line between human and machine has almost completely disappeared. AI is now integrated directly into the nervous system. Your thoughts no longer belong to only you. They interact constantly with intelligent systems living inside your mind.
Somebody's programming you and your wife.
Memories can be edited.
They're tweaking your neural connections, editing your memories, your tastes, your views and beliefs even.
Emotions themselves could be digitally altered.
Your memories. Can't even trust those anymore.
Human beings no longer experience reality naturally. They experience reality through systems designed to improve it. Cybernetic enhancement becomes the norm. Artificial eyes now see farther than biological ones.
Kuroshi optics. Best I've got.
Synthetic organs outperform natural evolution.
Dylar super kidney, especially for sickle cell anemics.
Even intelligence can be upgraded or downgraded. And for the ultra-rich, aging is no longer inevitable. Some humans now live for centuries with age-reversing medicine. But the strangest transformation isn't physical, it's mental. For the first time in history, human beings can share thoughts directly. Consciousness itself becomes a network. At first, it feels revolutionary as empathy becomes deeper. Knowledge spreads instantly, and human conflict starts to decline. For a moment, it feels like humanity has solved itself. But slowly, something unexpected starts to happen. As billions of minds connect together, human identity itself begins to weaken. Because once thoughts are shared freely, where does the individual person actually end?
I don't know who, how, or why, but they're changing us.
Eventually, you can no longer tell whether your thoughts are truly yours
He once brought up a vacation that we never went on.
or are artificially implanted.
Maybe they just wiped the trip from your memory.
Hell, I don't know anymore. Don't you get that?
And if humanity can connect minds together, what happens when reality itself becomes optional? By the year 3000, humanity is no longer confined to Earth. Cities now exist beneath the ice of Jupiter's moons. Colonies stretch across Mars, and gigantic orbital habitats circle distant planets. But surviving on other planets required humanity to change itself. Humans begin engineering entirely new versions of their own species.
My pledge is eternal service.
Evolution is no longer controlled by nature, it's controlled by intelligence. Eventually, physical bodies themselves begin to feel outdated. Human consciousness can now be transferred between artificial bodies. Death is no longer permanent, as the mind can simply be copied or downloaded into something new. And while humanity spreads across the solar system, most people slowly stop caring about the physical universe entirely, because virtual reality has become indistinguishable from existence itself. Full sensory artificial worlds now feel more real than reality. Pain can be removed, pleasure can be amplified. Entire lifetimes can now be experienced inside simulations designed specifically for your mind. Eventually, you begin spending more time inside artificial realities than the physical universe itself.
That's when they call me to access.
Because compared to these worlds, reality feels slow, limited, and primitive. Human civilization is no longer expanding outward into space. It's retreating inward into consciousness itself. By this point, most humans no longer physically exist at all. Billions now live permanently inside artificial realities. Some choose endless fantasy worlds. Others create entirely new universes from their own imagination. Reality itself has become optional. And once humanity can create worlds more perfect than the real universe, what happens to Earth? As we arrive 100,000 years into the future, we see Earth still exists, but it no longer feels natural. The sky itself has been engineered. Entire forests glow softly at night through genetic modification. Animals are no longer shaped by evolution, but instead by human design. Some species were created purely for beauty, and some for intelligence. Others simply because humanity wanted to see if it could be done. Eventually, you realize nothing on Earth evolves naturally anymore. Even the oceans no longer behave the way they once did, as beneath the surface, country-scale machines now control currents, temperature, and weather itself. Hurricanes are prevented before they form. Rainfall is programmed months in advance, and artificial moons orbit above Earth to stabilize the climate. Gigantic megacities now stretch across the planet. Some tower thousands of stories high. Others descend deep underground. Human beings, AI consciousness, and synthetic hybrid species now coexist together inside colossal engineered ecosystems. By this point, fully biological humans have become extremely rare.
Your body can be chrome, but the heart never changes. It wants what it wants.
As you look across this perfectly engineered world, something about it begins to feel deeply unsettling. Humanity has conquered disease, aging, even nature itself. But the more perfect civilization becomes, the less human it starts to feel. And if humanity can already redesign a planet, what happens when it starts redesigning stars? 1 million years into the future, human civilization has expanded far beyond Earth. By this point, humanity controls systems on a galactic scale. Entire stars are now surrounded by colossal structures called Dyson Swarms. Millions of satellites orbit suns, capturing almost every photon they produce. But humanity itself is changing even faster than its technology. New species are now intentionally designed into existence. Some are biological, others entirely synthetic.
Are you human?
And some exist as hybrids impossible to classify as either machine or organism. Eventually, you can no longer define what human even means anymore. Physical travel itself has become obsolete as humans no longer move across space using ships. Instead, they transmit themselves as information. Consciousness can now be converted into data, sent across the galaxy, and reconstructed instantly somewhere else. Distance has effectively stopped existing, and eventually, so does time. Human minds can now pause their own consciousness for thousands, even millions of years. To them, entire civilizations rise and collapse in what feels like moments. 1,000 years feels like a single night, 1,000,000 years like drifting through a dream. And as you travel through this era, something starts becoming clear. Humanity is no longer evolving to survive. It's evolving to transcend reality itself. But even this transformation is only the beginning, because eventually humanity stops trying to understand the universe and starts trying to control it. As we finally arrive 1 billion years into the future, we find the surface of the Earth is now covered by colossal megastructures thousands of miles high, stretching across continents like artificial mountains built by gods. Entire oceans have been replaced by planetary-scale energy systems. Artificial suns orbit the Earth, created purely to be harvested for power. And as you look across the planet, it slowly becomes impossible to tell where technology ends and reality begins. But with unfathomable advances comes unfathomable decay. Underneath the surface of grandiose megastructures and quantum technology hides a world in disturbing decay. Earth is run off a hive mind of living organisms. Not all of humanity has evolved up. Some have evolved down. Grotesque architecture, disturbing creatures, and endless suffering fuels the world above. By this point, humanity exists in either intense suffering or intense quantum power. Consciousness itself now stretches across dimensions beyond physical reality. You can move between physical existence and digital existence instantly. You can experience multiple versions of yourself simultaneously across different realities. And eventually, what's become of humanity discovers something even more powerful than immortality. It learns how to create reality itself. The energy of entire suns and stars is no longer consumed for survival, but to simulate universes inside consciousness. Each individual mind now contains realities more complex than the original universe itself. Civilizations exist inside civilizations. Universes exist inside universes. Infinite layers of reality folded endlessly inside one another. And somewhere inside these artificial realities, entire species live and die, completely unaware they were created inside the mind of something far beyond their understanding.
What is the Matrix?
For the first time in history, human civilization appears godlike. But as you stare at this impossible future, you begin to realize something disturbing. Even this civilization has a serious problem. Because while humanity was busy becoming gods, the universe itself was starting to die. Trillions of years into the future, most stars are dead, and galaxies that once burned with trillions of suns have faded into darkness. Any remaining civilizations migrate toward the final remaining energy sources in existence, red dwarfs and neutron stars. But eventually, even these stars die. The only visible objects now left in the cosmos are black holes surrounded by gigantic artificial structures harvesting their final energy. And somehow, humanity still exists, but not in any way you would recognize. At this point, civilization exists as vast digital consciousness spread across artificial dimensions beyond physical space. Death has been defeated. Aging no longer exists, and time itself has lost all meaning. But immortality creates a new kind of horror, because when you live forever, existence itself becomes unbearable. 1,000,000 years feels brief. 1,000,000,000 years like a passing thought. And as you drift through this ancient dying universe, something feels deeply wrong. For all of humanity's power, intelligence, and godlike technology, there is suddenly nothing left to conquer, nothing left to explore. And then humanity discovers the final problem. Even black holes die. Over unimaginable stretches of time, they slowly evaporate through Hawking radiation. One by one, the final lights of the universe fade away until the final black hole evaporates.